What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over the mobility items in Fortnitemares and letting you know which one I think is best, because the Fortnitemares update did change up the pool of mobility items. We have a decent amount. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down which mobility item has been your favorite to use in the Fortnitemares update. So the main changes we got in this update is going to be that the Witches Broom and the Katana were added back. The Katana is a mythic item that you can get from defeating Thorne at Eclipse Estate, and there's only going to be one of this on the map per game. And the Witches Broom is going to be an item that you can just get from general looting. And then there also is going to be an augment added, I believe, next week, which will grant you a Witches Broom when you pick it. A lot of players were looking forward to this returning because it functions very similar to the Nimbus Cloud, and if you guys played during any of the Dragon Ball updates, the Nimbus Cloud was an item that was, pretty prevalent and a lot of players took advantage of it. I was pretty let down by the return of the Witches Broom, though. There's like this weird problem, I don't know if it's intentional or not, where if you swap weapons after using it, once you land, you have to like repeat that animation again. So the way the Witches Broom works is like you can activate it, and then you can activate it again while you're in the sky, and then you'll drop down from where you are. You don't need to like glide to your landing at all times. And this kind of makes it very adaptable with how you can use the item, because you can choose to detach from it and land on somebody, detach from it and land on a house, or if you're getting shot, you can detach and land a little bit sooner. But if you do detach in the sky and then swap to like your shotgun, like let's say you're landing on somebody, you can do this animation while you're in the air, and then once you land, you're going to need to do the animation again, and this just makes it very clunky to use this item and very just counterintuitive to do. I've had it where I try to land on people after getting good, opening AR tags on them, and it's just awkward to deal with this. And I've also had the inverse of this happen, where somebody thinks they're going to be landing on me, and then they have to do this animation, and they're just kind of standing there, and it makes them an easy kill for me. So you could say just don't try to barrel stuff people with it, and, that is true, but if you guys play zero build, a decent amount of fights is like you get AR tags, you push that person while they're weak, you get that kill. Not only do you get that person out of the game, but you spend less time fighting if you do kind of play in this more decisive way, and that doesn't really work with this weapon. Another thing or this mobility item, sorry. Another thing that makes the Witches Broom less desirable to me now than it might have been in Chapter 2 Season 8 or in the past seasons when we had the Nimbus Cloud is going to be just how insane the Twin Mag AR is. I've beamed a lot of people out of the sky using the Witches Broom. I think the Twin Mag AR is one of the best ARs we've ever had. So having, a gliding mobility item leaves you more vulnerable to getting AR'd than using something like Shockwaves or like the Katana would. So as of right now, I don't really see myself using the Witches Broom unless I'm not able to have another mobility item. If I just haven't found Shockwaves yet, or I don't have the Katana or the Shockwave Launcher, then sure, maybe I'll take advantage of the Witches Broom, but it's not really something I care for using. It is infinite, like it goes on cooldown after you use it, which is nice, but we'll kind of get back to that later on in the video, because the next mobility item we're going to talk about is the Katana, and I think this is great. If I go to Eclipse Estate or I kill somebody who has the Katana, I'm very happy to take it. The rechargeability of it is nice, and it's just a very easy, convenient weapon to use. If you've never used the Katana before because you started after Chapter 4 Season 2, you basically just look in the direction you want to go and hit your aim down sights button, and that'll do like a dash effect, and you can chain these. You get 3 dashes when it is fully cooled down, and each of the dashes kind of cools down in sequence. So it's just a very easy, very intuitive mobility item to use. The fact that it recharges is super nice. It does have some drawbacks where like shockwaves would be better. Like if you wanted to shockwave through cover, like let's say you're in a house and there's a guy below you, you can look up on the roof, throw it, end up shockwaving through the floor onto the person. You can shockwave through walls, rocks, trees, whatever. You can't really do that with the Katana. And another thing you can't do is shockwave your opponents. So if you have somebody hiding behind a tree or in a bush, you can't shockwave them out with the Katana. If you have somebody playing an ice wall, you can't shockwave yourself up and then shockwave them out, which is one of the best things you can do if somebody's playing off an ice wall, is just get them away from it. You can't really do that with the Katana. You can't shockwave people out of zone. So like there are some drawbacks to the Katana for sure, or not really some drawbacks, but there's like some situations where when I'm using this, I would rather have shockwaves. But overall, I think the Katana is a great item to have. I'm very happy to have it. And if you're playing team game modes, one of the really nice things is like if you have somebody in your team who has this katana, then that person doesn't really need to worry about carrying shockwaves, and then the shockwaves can go to the other people. So since someone has this unlimited item, you have more shockwaves for the other players in the team. And you could argue the same for the Witches Broom, but I just don't think the Witches Broom is as good of an item. You get one use and then it goes on cooldown for 20 seconds. I believe the augment coming next week will make it to where the Witches Broom cooldown is 15 seconds instead of 20, which is nice, but it's still not something I would prefer to use. And you could say, like, just use double mobility like we did in Chapter 3 when, the Dragon Ball update happened. A lot of people use shockwaves and Nimbus Cloud. But then if at this point in the game, if I'm going to run 2 weapons and run double utility, I would much rather use something like shockwaves and ice wall, or shockwaves and porta bunker, or katana and ice wall and katana and porta bunker than, shockwaves and Witch's Broom, or shockwaves and katana. I feel like just the fact that these other utility items are in the game is very nice. And then also in Chapter 3, the rechargeability of something like the Nimbus Cloud was really nice because of how inconvenient it could be to get shockwaves. And even, Chapter 4, Season 2, a lot of people loved the katana because it recharged over time, and kind of once you got it, you were good for the game. And I feel like the rechargeability of these items isn't as valuable as it or isn't as valuable now as it was then, at least that difference there, because of the on the go bag augment, and then also the cabbie NPC selling shockwaves. If we didn't have on the go bag and we didn't have the NPC selling them, then the fact that the Witch's Broom is infinite, or the fact that the katana is infinite, would be a huge deal. But typically, if I'm able to get on the go bag, then I don't have a problem finding shockwaves. And if the cabbie NPC is in zone in 3rd or 4th zone, and I'm able to stock up at that point, then I typically don't have as difficult of a time, dealing with the fact that shockwaves are consumable than I did in past seasons. Especially, like I said, if you get on the go bag, then it really shouldn't be a problem, unless it's just a zone where there's nothing to loot or you really didn't manage it well. Also, the soaring sprints augment being in the game, if you're able to get that and combo it with shockwaves, is really nice because, there's some situations where you could use one shockwave and get really far if that's what you needed to do, and you would end up saving shockwaves in the long run. I still think the Shockwave Launcher is the best mobility item in the game. You basically have all the advantages of shockwaves with the Shockwave Launcher, which you can still get from Sanguine Sweets or Relentless Retreat. It's just Eclipse Estate that doesn't have mythics anymore, or doesn't have the vault mythics. But with the Shockwave Launcher, you can have an absurd amount of rockets, because you can have 6 loaded in and then 12 reserve. And I feel like it's typically super easy to find rockets if you eliminate somebody in the mid to late game, even if they are using an RPG or sticky launcher, which I feel like the drop rate of the sticky launcher is way less prevalent now since the RPGs are in the game. And that leads to less people, or it leads to people using less rockets because the RPG isn't as spammable as the sticky launcher. I don't know if it's just me, but I haven't been finding the sticky launcher very much, and I haven't been running into very many people using it, which is nice. But anyways, even if somebody is using a rocket weapon, people rarely just run through their rockets all the time. Typically, even if they are using it, when you kill them, you'll get a few back from that person. And anybody you eliminate who isn't using an RPG or sticky launcher is probably going to be max rockets by the time end game happens. And so any kill you get is a full refresh of rockets. So when I use the Shockwave Launcher, I feel like I'm just able to be super mobile with it and not really care that much about using any of my shockwaves, because I know I'm going to get more back. If you have the Explosive Surplus augment, that's also something that's, going to make it very easy to stay topped off on shockwaves. So if I was in a situation where I had to choose between Katana and Shockwave Launcher, I would definitely be choosing the Shockwave Launcher, unless I just had 0 rockets for some reason. But more often than not, that's just not the case. I still think the Katana is really good. Like I said, I think the Katana, the Shockwaves, and the Shockwave Launcher are all very good. Just the Witch's Broom I don't really think is as good as a lot of people thought it would be, or a lot of people might be making it out to be. And then the Rocket Ram I didn't really talk about in this video because I haven't thought it was very good all this season. It kind of has a lot of the same disadvantages of Witch's Broom in terms of being slow after using. You can get beamed out of the air. I just don't really think it's good, but that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below which mobility item you think is best and which you enjoy using most in the current version of the game. Thanks for watching.